Fear is chaos.
Okay.
Fear has no plan. Fear is just completely reactive and emotional. You're in an emotional part of the brain and you're just trying to get through. Here's what I believe, okay? Fear and faith, they're very similar in the aspect that they're both made up. Neither one is more real than the other.
Can they, I've always heard though that they can't coexist.
Exactly. When you're looking at them on an emotional level, they cannot exist at the same time, and this is why.
Okay.
Fear is chaos.
Okay.
Fear has no plan. Fear is just completely reactive and emotional. You're in an emotional part of the brain and you're just trying to get through. It's to get from point A to point B as quickly as you can. Faith at least has a plan. It's not more real than the fear that you're feeling. They both are something that you have in a moment where you don't have anything, but faith at least has a plan that this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to try. And that willingness to be able to walk into that unknown is what makes the difference. And so where you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, I'm this person and I don't know what's the difference between fear and faith. Okay, well, am I reactive? Do I feel like I'm spreading so thin that I'm not in the places where I want to be? Am I aligned with the decisions that I'm making? And if the answer to those are no, then you're probably in a fearful state. And a lot of people can live there the whole life. Yeah. They just keep adding things onto their plate, trying to think that they're solving problems, but really they're just putting out fires for every single day. You know, you take the parable of the man who built his house upon the brick, and you take the parable of who built his house upon the sand, right? Yeah. The person who built his house upon the sand, all he did was hurry and try to throw something together as quickly as he could. The water came and washed it away, and he did it again and again and again, and he stayed stuck there. The person who lays his house with faith, it says, okay, I'm going to do this one thing, and I'm just going to do it as best I can. And if you really want to be effective at it, pick one thing and say, I'm going to lay this brick perfectly, and it's all I'm going to focus on. And then once I get that brick the way that I want it to be, I'm going to lay another one, and another one, and another one, until you have a wall. And then when the water comes, even if it cracks the brick, you're not going to sit there and blame the water for breaking your house. You're not going to blame anything because there's a crack in the brick. You're going to say, well, why didn't the brick hold up? What part of me wasn't strong enough to handle this situation? Rather than blaming the person for being rude, rather than saying that, well, they hurt me, they did this, I wasn't able to handle it, you start to be able to look inward and say, why didn't I hold up in that? What part of me feels unwhole? Where's the insecurity? And when you look inward, then you can grow the strength to handle whatever comes your way. And it doesn't matter if you're in the perfect situation or not. Like, so many people wait till things are perfect in order to be able to make a choice. But when we do that, we wait our whole life and we continue to build houses on sand.
That's powerful, man. That's really cool. Yeah, and what I've found too, that as I've just stepped into that faith and taken action, I found that the fears were keeping me from living, you know? And so overcoming those by choosing faith, being intentional, mapping my own course. And it takes time, but even that first step felt like I'm okay. Things are good. Life is abundant, you know, and it started to build upon itself to where that wall is there. Yeah. And then you're just refining that wall over time. You are finding the cracks and you're finding the imperfections, and the wall is never going to be perfect, right? And I think that some people do focus on the perfection of it, but it's progress over perfection every day of the week. It's how our life should be built. No, that's really awesome, man. When so you're giving us some really good words of wisdom, like how you do this with your clients one-on-one, but then you also do these retreats, and then you wanted to create a festival. Was it with the intention of applying these principles to individuals just kind of on a bigger scale, or what was the vision there?
Well, my mission in this life is to help people regain the energy to engage with life. Because when you're in a fearful state, you lose your freedom. Like, think about it. If you're so angry, because typically anger comes from a place of fear, you say things you don't mean, right? Yeah. Things happen that you didn't want to. If you're overweight and you're not taking care of yourself, if you need to run, do you have that ability? It's gone. Yeah. And so I want people to be able to regain the energy to engage with life to where they have the freedom to be and do whatever they want, whenever they want to. They have that ability. And so I wanted to expose them to that.
Did this mission come by way of experience personally for you? Like, I know you had that experience with football. Were there other things where it's like, hey, I don't have the energy to engage in life. I am recognizing, like, you know, where I'm at right now is not where I want to be. Was there a personal experience or a multiple, you know, experiences that came about in your life that was like, this is why I'm doing this. I understand what it feels like to not be engaged in life, to not have the energy to engage.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. My path is a little bit different than I think most. There wasn't like one particular time where I struggled really, really bad. My whole thing is I grew up with 4 older brothers, and my whole mission in life was to be able to keep up and fit in and do. And so where I struggled is I was always acting from a place for other people. And I had a fairly positive mindset my entire life, but that led me astray. That positive mindset put me in a place to where I overlooked a lot of the hardships of life that could have helped me grow, because I stayed there for so long. And I would do it at the detriment of my own self. Like, for example, okay, my brothers rode motorcycles. I loved motorcycles, but they rode way more than I did. I only went when the family went. But if I saw my brothers hit a jump, I was going to hit that jump, even on my smaller bike. But what would happen, I'd often crash. Yeah. And then same thing with football. My brother started in football, so I was going to start in football, even to the point to where I was going to put myself in the game.
Yeah, I love this story. You got to share it.
Yeah, like there was multiple times my coach said, he goes, our starters will put themselves in the game. And like, I wasn't very good. I was not a starter by any means, but I put myself in the game.
I'm just picturing Rudy Rudiger out there right now, right? Brock, what are you doing out there? Is that like...
Yes, and my coach got so mad. Like, he comes over...
Because you would just go out. You'd go out for the starting lineup.
Yeah, and so he comes back one time, and he just gets in my face, and he's like, Brock, what string are you? I look him in the eyes, I'm like, 4th? 3rd? 4th? He's like, do you ever want to play? And I got really sad. And I was like, yeah, I want to play. And I got in my head, I'm like, stupid Brock, like, why can't you just sit still? Like, why can't you play the game good? And I started to be really hard on me there. And I did that throughout a lot of times in my life where I wanted things to happen, but they didn't. And I didn't know why, because hard work was never a part of the equation. I could work hard. I could do the thing. I would check the list. But the thing is I was doing the wrong thing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I was a tryhard trying to do everything for everybody else the way they thought it was right. And one thing that I learned along the way, and this is where the lesson comes in for me, was when I realized that I was the one who had to show up for me.